Welcome back. I'm Lou, and I have a very special video for you. Now, if you're a fan of Star Wars and the Mandalorian, you are going to love this. Now, take a look at this. Here it is. The Mandalorian's signature vehicle, the Razor Crest. Now, this is a gorgeous spaceship. It has quickly become one of the most iconic vehicles in Star Wars canon. Now, before you get too excited about this, let me explain a few things. First off, this is not the Hasbro Haslab crowdfunded project. This is actually a 3D printed model, which actually was an eBay rescue. Now, let's talk a little bit about this first. Okay. So around the time when Hasbro put up their crowdfunded Razor Crest, I got really itchy for it. I was like, I really want some sort of physical representation of the Razor Crest. And it seemed like there were a couple of different options. For one, I think there was I think it's a Hot Wheels or a Matchbox sized Razor Crest. It's about this big. You can find it like at Target or Walmart, and check, I got that. Amazon had an exclusive Lego Razor Crest model kit. Check, I got that. And speaking of Lego, I actually even made my own custom Lego Razor Crest, but we'll save that for another video because I think that'll be really fun to take a look at. But as I was explaining, I was just so itchy for a Razor Crest of my own. I wanted one that would go with my action figures. Now, ideally, I would have loved one that was, maybe 1/12 scale that would go with my 6-inch figures, but there's no possible way anyone was going to make anything that big. So I combed around on eBay, and then, lo and behold, I actually found a seller who was selling a 3 3/4 scale Razor Crest. And at first my mind was blown. I'm like, no way, this can't be real. I looked at the photos and I'm like, wow, this thing looks pretty cool. But I was kind of skeptical at first because, for number one, I wasn't sure if the photos he had in his eBay sale was actually his or if they were just pulled from someone else's. So I kind of did some extensive research on my own just to find out what I was getting into if I decided to pull the trigger on this eBay sale. So I was looking up all sorts of different Google images of 3D printed Razor Crest, trying to find one that would match the one that was on eBay. And I got lucky and actually did find a couple. And I did, the more research I did, I kind of found out that that 3D printed Razor Crest the guy was selling, it wasn't actually his design. Now, I have to give credit where credit is due. So, this Razor Crest is actually a 3D printed model. And it was designed by Rick Tamarov on Instagram. He's also known as Find Engineer on the MakerBot website Thingiverse. Now, if you're not familiar with 3D printing, there's actually a very large community of 3D printers. Now, a lot of these are artists, engineers, and designers. And what they do is they'll come up with their own 3D designs, whether it be like toys, thingamabobs, all sorts of wild things, stuff like this, stuff for tabletop gaming, jewelry. And these very talented individuals, they'll provide the files. So if you have a 3D printer of one at home, you could take their files, you could purchase their files, or in some cases get them for free, and you could print out, those kind of things for yourself. So for example, if I went to this website and I found like maybe a necklace or a ring I liked that was 3D printed, I could purchase the design, and lo and behold, I could, just like that, print it myself. So apparently what it looked like was that whoever was selling this on eBay, I'm guessing he tinkered around in 3D printing, but judging by the photos that he provided of the model, it looked like maybe he was in over his head, because the model didn't look fully completed, stuff looked kind of misassembled, and I'm like, okay, I think I might pull the trigger on this eBay sale, just because, for one, it was a lot cheaper than the Haslab one, which I wanted a lot, but at the same time, I couldn't justify dropping that kind of money and waiting 9 to 12 months for it. So I'm like, okay, you know what, I'm going to pull the trigger on this, and we'll just see what I get. And it took about 2 or 3 weeks later, and, this baby came in the mail, and I was super excited when I got the box delivered to the front door. And then I opened up the box, and it was terrible. The paint was super tacky because it seemed like the seller just painted it maybe a day or two before. the cannons were broken off, parts were misassembled, and I'm like, this thing's kind of it's a hot mess. But I kind of have a background in tinkering around with custom toys and models. I'm like, that's cool, I could save this. I could repaint it myself, I could make whatever adjustments needs to be done. If stuff needs to be fixed, I could easily take care of that. And I did. And we'll go into a little bit more detail in this video later on. So I got this ship in the mail. It was broken, it looked horrible, but I instantly fell in love with it because I actually had for myself a physical version of the Razor Crest that works alongside the 3 3/4 figures put out by Hasbro. So I'm like, this is great. You know, now all I gotta do is just put the time and effort into it and make it look pretty and bring it up to speed. So we're going to talk about that in just a little bit. But I just wanted to give you a little bit of information about this this beautiful model kit. Because if you're like me, The Mandalorian is a badass show. This ship is just wicked cool. And if you look at this, it's not 100% screen accurate, but for what it is, for me, it gets the job done. You know, this is a great alternative to the Haslab one. It wasn't as much, and since I got to fix it up and customize it myself, you know, I kind of made this thing my own. But it's like I said, I got to give credit where credit is due. The original designer of this, Rick Tamarov, aka Fine Engineer, he did a wonderful job just designing this 3D printed model, and I highly suggest that you hunt him down on Instagram and on the Thingiverse website. And you know, if you like the model kit, buy the designs for yourself and print them out. So yeah, we're going to take a look at this thing in closer detail. I'll try to share as many photos as I can. I'm not sure how well my camera is going to capture the finer details, so I might just have to do some still photography and maybe a slideshow or something. But stick around for this video, and you know, if you're jonesing for a Razor Crest of your own, you know, just keep your eyes peeled on eBay. You never know, another one of these might pop up. Or if you have a 3D printer of your own, just go ahead and make one. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. Okay, let's get up close and personal with the Razor Crest. Now first off, I want to apologize if the video comes off a little shaky or if the quality isn't the greatest. I don't have the best video equipment in the world, so I'll do the best that I can to keep this as clear and as still as possible. So here is the Razor Crest, and let's start taking a look at some of the details. Alright, let's get a nice view of the side. And let's gradually work our way and take a look at the ship from the top view. So this is a really beautiful model. Okay. Now when I received the kit in the mail, the two front cannons were completely broken off. And what it looked like was, when the original seller had it, he might have tried to assemble the model kit with hot glue. And I think the hot glue was so hot that it might have melted the plastic thin and the guns just cracked off. So I had to glue the guns back on, and to make it a little bit sturdier, I actually even used metal screws. And the barrels on the cannons were broken, so I actually just cut off the old ones and put on some new ones myself. The red lights on the front of the Razor Crest are actually 1x1 translucent red Lego studs. And there's a front view of it. Let's work our way to the top a little. Now if you look, there's some nice paneling on it. I don't think the scribe lines and the panels are actually 100% accurate to the show, but I wasn't sure what kind of material, or at least what reference material the artist had when he designed it, but it works. And we're coming up to the cockpit. And here's one of the doors. Now this door, it's not permanently, it does open up and a ramp is revealed, but I kind of had this door kind of closed with a poster tack just because, I'll explain it later, but it has to do with the interior of the ship. I made some modifications of my own. Now the landing struts were misassembled on the model when I received it, and the front one was actually broken. So what I did was, these aren't accurate to the show at all, but I made landing struts of my own. So I broke off the old ones since they were kind of messed up to begin with. And I had some leftover parts from these old Transformers ConstructBot kits. And I kind of kit bashed those and made landing struts of my own. They get the job done. I mean, it holds the ship up. They're not screen accurate by any means, but it works. Alright, let's take a look at the other sides of the ship. Okay, now we're looking at this side of the ship. And I think it's almost identical to the right side, but I think there is some asymmetry between the left side of the ship and the right side of the ship. Now, one thing I was really happy with, when I painted the ship myself, I actually painted those yellow or goldish stripes and markings on the side. Yeah, it's kind of used masking tape. Try to get as straight a line as possible. Now let's see what the inside of the ship looks like if I open this real quick. Right, this way. It's being kind of stubborn. I might have to grab like a safety pin or something. Yeah, just hold for a second. Let me grab a safety pin real quick and unjam it. Now, one thing that was cleverly designed with the door to begin with, it looks like the designer actually left a tab to include a magnet right here. So right here, you could have put a magnet in there, and then if you put a magnet on the door, you know, it could have actually like lock in place. So here's the landing ramp, and let me actually show you what the scale of where the figure is. Right, so this is a Hasbro 3 3/4 Mandalorian figure. So if you look at it, it's a pretty decent scale. Now the ship is a lot larger on the show because I think the ship on the television show is actually 2 levels. Because I remember the cockpit, you actually have to take a ladder to get to the front. So for a for a toy vehicle, this is actually a decent size if you want it to accompany your 3 3/4 figures. And let me open the cockpit real quick so we can see what's in there. So the cockpit is actually on a hinge, which is right there. And I used a paper clip to actually make the pin for the hinge. And it opens up. So the original paint job was a mess to begin with, and the inside wasn't any better. It was just painted entirely black, and it had paint spatter from the outside of the ship. Now the details are really nice here. If you notice on the control board, one of the joysticks here actually is missing the knob. It's kind of like when Grogu, Baby Yoda, is always taking it off and playing with it. And when I painted the interior, at the time I didn't have too much reference material to go off of. And some of these, I couldn't disassemble the ship, so the interior is really tight to get in there. So I kind of still left most of it black, and I just kind of painted the seats and the control boards to the best that I could. And let's see what it looks like with the Mandalorian actually inside the cockpit. I'm not going to sit him down, but let's give you an idea of the scale. So if we stand him up, let's see if he stands up. Yeah, so it's a good scale. It could fit two figures. You know, you could seat him in front, and you could seat like another character in the spare seat. Now, some of the modifications I made on this for my own, I actually added lighting to the interior of the ship. And from my understanding, the actual real 3D model, if you're going to print this out yourself, I think there are 3D pieces you could print out to decorate the inside of the ship. But since I didn't have a 3D printer available to me, I actually just made my own interior out of Lego pieces. And I'll detail that later with some photos at the end of the video. So let me show you this real quick. Okay, so here's the battery pack that turns on the interior lights. Now I'm not sure how well this will show up on the camera, so let me turn this on. I'm hoping the batteries still work. Oh yeah, they work, okay. So if you look, you can kind of see, yeah, there we go. Here's the interior, it's lit up. Now one thing that the Mandalorian has inside of the ship is he has his armory, and I actually made that myself too out of Lego, which is this thing right here. And let me open those doors. Let me see if I can get it open first. All right, I'm going to set the camera down for a second, and we'll see if I can do this. Alright. Okay, so I managed to open the door, and I'm not sure if I'm getting any light in there or not. Let me see if... Yeah, so there you go. So there's the armory. It's a small locker. The doors open and close, and I'm able to fit 2 guns in there. And let's see if I can close it, just so you can see how they close. This door closes, and now let me set the camera down again for a second. Alright, so that's what it looks like closed. And you can kind of get a peek of the interior and the lighting I have in there. And, oh, I actually can't even see it from here. Let me see if we could get it. Yeah, there you go. That's a beautiful shot. So this is the interior of the ship, which I detailed myself with Lego pieces. Really happy about the floor. Added some panels on the floor. Added some mesh netting on the side of the wall. That's kind of like, I don't know, I noticed that detail on the show. So it's nice that for as bare as the interior was, I got to detail a little. Alright, let's actually take a look at the back of the ship. We'll do that now. Okay, now we're looking at the rear of the ship, and we're going to take a look at the landing ramp. So the landing ramp actually does open and close, just like that. And let's turn this a little this way so we get a better view. So here's the ramp. Now there was actually some sort of brace here, but I accidentally snapped it off when I was painting it. But it actually worked out for the better, because if I still had the brace, I wouldn't be able to open the ramp so it would touch the floor. So there's the ramp, and can we see if it's... You could kind of get a glimpse of the interior lighting. So there's the lighting along the ceiling, and you can see parts of the panel are lit up on the interior of the ship. And if you look down the hallway, you can see the cockpit. And let's take a look at what a figure looks like next to the back of the ship with the ramp opened. Alright, so here's the Mandalorian figure again. And I'll stand him next to it. So see, it's a decent scale. It works well. Alright, I have some other things I want to show you, so we'll get to that. So, as stoked as I was to have this ship, and it was really cool to be able to have a 3 3/4 figure scale with it, I was kind of like looking at the new Star Wars Mission Fleet series. Now, if you've seen the Mission Fleet stuff, it's clearly aimed more at like little kids, and because the designs are more cartoony and the figures are a lot smaller, and there's a heavy emphasis on just the play features. But to be honest, I love the Mission Fleet stuff, and after I got this model in the mail, my first thought was, this thing would scale perfect with a Mission Fleet figure. And just take a look. There we go. There's there's Mission Fleet Mandalorian. There's Grogu. And it's a decent scale, actually. And then here's Grogu's little, I don't know, baby carriage, or whatever the hell that is. And let's put the Mandalorian, let's adjust this so we get some light in here. Alright. So we have some light in there, and let's get him, whoa, topple down. Let's get him inside. And as you see, he's a perfect height for it. It looks great. And then you can have like little baby Yoda up there just waiting for him. Now another cool thing was, so recently, this came out a few weeks ago at Target, and I had to get it. And it's the Blurg. So, yeah, the Blurg and the Razor Crest. Now, I haven't tried this yet, but I want to see if I can fit the Blurg in the cargo hold. And let's take a look at that now. Alright, so let's close this up. Let's spin this around. Alright, I'm going to take this dude off. I think he might be too much. Alright, you're going to go away for a while. Alright, so there's the Blurg. You can tell he wants to go inside. He wants to check out the inside of the ship. Alright. The Blurg is making his way into the back. Does he fit? Oh, success! Success. The Blurg does fit. Let's see if I can... Yep, the Blurg fits inside of the ship. Success. Houston, we have landed. So, just to get this guy out. Whoa, it's gonna fall out. Yeah, so that's the Razor Crest in a nutshell. So yeah, I added some interior lighting of my own over there. You can kind of see it. There it is on the ceiling. There's a mesh net on the wall, like on the show. Redid the landing struts. They're not perfect. They don't look like the shows, but they hold the ship up. Redid the cannons, the paint job. So, I'm stoked. I would love to have the Haslab one. My brother's getting it, so I'm probably gonna, I don't know, play around with his for a little bit, but this is definitely a cool placeholder. I'm really hoping they make the Razor Crest like another one, but actually a kitty one made for the Mission Fleet series, because they do have a Mission Fleet Falcon, which is really nice. And I think a Mission Fleet Razor Crest would just be amazing. Alright, so for the rest of this video, I think I'm going to close it off with this, some still photography and some of the working photos of when I first got it. Alright, so stick around for that.